Hello, I'm Matt and welcome to Badger Workshop. So with Easter coming up, I thought I'd make a few handmade gifts. So I've got a few eggs, all delicious in their own way, and these thin scraps of oak. Now, they're too thin to plane down, so I've got this little board that goes in my thicknesser. And then I can run them through to get them all down to the same dimensions. They're a bit thin to use the planer, so I'm just going to put a clean edge on using the hand plane. Then I can take them over to the table saw and rip them all down. So I want this to be a rack that holds 12 eggs, or I probably should say a dozen. And I want this to be 2 shelves with 6 eggs on each. So I just work out how long the shelves need to be, and then I can use the mitre gauge to get the bits cut down to length. I have one of these circle templates, so I can just use this to find roughly the size of the hole I need to support an egg. Then I can get it marked out on the wood where the holes need to go. I've got a Forstner bit, I believe this is 35mm, so I can get all 12 holes drilled out with that. So that the egg sits better, and because it looks nice, I want to add a chamfer to all the holes, so I get my router jig set up, and then I can start adding that detail. To join all the bits together, I'm going to use my box joint jig. I'm sure you've seen me do this many times, but I'll put a link to the video where I made this up above. So I get them clamped in place, I've got the grooving blade in the table saw, and I start cutting the fingers. Once this is glued up, it's going to be difficult to sand the inside edges, so I just get some tape on the inner corners. This would just protect the wood from any glue squeeze out. So now I can get some glue applied to the fingers and get the bits pushed together. As you can see, I'm pretty messy when I do this, and that's why I need the masking tape. So with it all together, I can get some clamps on and leave it to dry. So the glue's dried, and I always cut the fingers on the box joints a bit long, so now I can take this over to the bandsaw, trim them off, and then sand it. So it's a quick job to get most of it cut off on the bandsaw, and then I can take it over to the Clark sander and get it all sanded flush. So, as you can see, if you put an egg in, it doesn't sit. It needs to be lifted off the ground slightly. So I've got this small bit of wood, which is walnut, which is just going to be perfect to make some feet. I get the stop on the mitre gauge set to the width of the rack, and then I can get these bits of walnut cut down. I want to add a chamfer to them, but they're a bit too small to use the router table, so I just use a block plane. I can now just get some wood glue applied to the bottom of these feet, get them put into place and clamped up and left to dry. When it's all dried, I just give it a few coats of some tung oil. And that's the rack finished for my hen's eggs, but I need somewhere to put my chocolate eggs. For that I want to try something else, so first I need to make a template. I draw out a grid that's going to have 6 holes in it. And again I can use a Forstner bit to drill these out, but this time I'm using the largest one I have, which is a 38mm. I just put a couple of countersunk holes in this just to help me secure it down. So this template is going to allow me to use a router and these dishing bits with this bushing to guide them. So first I need to get this bushing set up in the router, and then I'm going to use the largest bit. I'll put a link down to these bits below. The wood I have for this is some Waney Edge or Live Edge oak. So I get that on the bench and then secured down with a few holdfasts. The template can now go into place and secured down through those holes I drilled. Now it's time for routing. So I just get the bushing pushed into each hole, plunged down, and then the router moved around until I've dished out the waste. I actually make 2 of these, and then I can get the template removed and the holdfasts off. These need cutting out now, but I don't want to just use straight lines as it's a Waney Edge board. So I just use a paint can to mark out some curves on each end, then I can take it over to the bandsaw and get these cut out. I use the belt sander to give them a clean up, and then the last job is just some finish, and I'm going for some more tung oil, and then they're all done. So these weren't exactly complicated to make, but I did use quite a lot of tools, routers with templates and table saws with box joint jigs. So I thought I'd try and show you that you can do something similar with very simple tools. So I'm going to try using a Forstner bit and a spade bit in just a hand drill. So I get a scrap of wood secured, and then I'm going to start with the Forstner bit. So I get that chucked up in the drill and drill down to about the depth of the bit. So to make a simple egg holder, you could do a grid of 6 or just a row of 6 or individual ones. Just a block of wood and some holes in would work. Now I'll try it with a spade bit. These are so cheap and readily available, and this worked just as well really. Now I could just leave it there, but I have to make things a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to cut these out. I've got this socket to draw around, and then I'm going to take it to the bandsaw and try and cut these out into circles. I'm thinking these will make nice little individual egg cups. With them roughly cut out, I can then clean them up using the disc sander. So I was making those out of some scrap wood, and the one I did with the Forstner bit had a crack in and it's all split, so that was rubbish. But the other one turned out pretty well. So that's them all done. A few ideas how to make handmade gifts for Easter, and you can make it as simple or as complicated as you like. So I hope that inspired some of you to make some things for Easter this year. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, and please subscribe for more videos.